Welcome to another episode of An Inside Job, War on Addiction. This is going to be show 19. We have to cut it down to a half hour. It just keeps going too long. In fact, this is the second show of today. We break it up, 30-minute scheduling. So, again, I want to thank LATV, Kyle, Jack, Jane, Robert, Alan, and Bradley. It is a half-hour show and live, which means there is no editing. My name is Ron. I'm your host. The show is geared toward the epidemic we are facing with addiction. And this is a quote from a book. And I begin the show with this every time because it's just so important for us to understand how complicated this thing is. So it's Dr. Gabriel Matei. He's an MD who works with addicts in Vancouver, Canada, downtown East Side, and he knows what he's talking about. He has a book, The Realm of the Hungry Ghost, and I recommend it for sure. So his knowledge of addiction is biological, chemical, neurological, physiological, medical, emotional, social, political, economical, and spiritual. In both, and I'm going to introduce right now Gabe, and this will be the third time that we're doing a show together, but it just, the preceding show, we didn't even get to the first question, but we're talking about enabling and how difficult that is. So, where do we begin again?
The education of people about the process. What's the difference between detox and a holding stabilization services? What is the difference between halfway house, sober house, roaming house? What are all these things mean to an individual getting help and in their process of recovery? If the people that could in fact be enabling someone doesn't know, then they might not know that what they're doing is hurting an individual instead of helping them. If your person in your life is telling you that, you know, no one cares, I'm just another poor sucker at a detox, and
right.
They don't have any treatment here. Of course they don't. Of course they don't, Ron. They're going to see hundreds and hundreds of people all month long.
Right.
And most of those people say, thanks for the spin dry, what we call a spin dry.
Explain.
Spin dry is, hey, I got off the street, I got some hot meals, I took a shower and washed my clothes, now I can get out and go back to it. And essentially, we talked about the chances of someone getting it on their first try.
Right.
If I give that person on their first go around of treatment the opportunity to leave, now that 5 days is over and you're good,
right.
I'm gonna take it.
Right.
I'm gonna go back and say, all right, cool, let's try this again.
There's also the part, I'm interrupting.
Yeah, of course.
But that person on the street just at wit's end, there's no more money, there's no more net, there's nothing, and they truly want to get in, but once they get in and start detoxing from that stuff. So I just want to say that.
That's perfect, thank you. So when that person who is just so willing to stop the pain,
right.
stop the suffering,
right.
because there is no net anymore,
right.
there is no people to be like, okay, you can come home, they are willing to raise their hand and say, I need a bed.
Right.
I'm going to die if I step back out that
Right.
door. All right? Those people may go to the stabilization services of the detox facility that they're at. They're usually, 30
Hold
odd
it, we have
beds.
to go back. So they would go to detox and then the
Well,
holding.
yeah, what's called a
Yeah.
holding or
So
stabilization.
they don't have to go back on the street
Exactly.
till a bed comes up.
Now, these are the places that, I'm involved in commitments, speaking commitments at these facilities for
Right.
the 12-step fellowship I belong to. We're going in to share the message with speakers with, 90 days, 6 months, however long, in my case, 3 years clean
Yeah.
time, that can actually share that I was sitting where you were and I sat
Right.
and I held my chair
Right.
because I wasn't going to leave and
Right.
chance it again. I waited until I got a bed at a program, and this is where the next step goes: halfway house or residential program. Either one is applicable here, and I did some work. Those programs are anywhere from 1 to 3 months, 6 to 9 months, or anywhere in between. But that's depending on the halfway house that you go to.
So now you're talking about getting into a halfway house.
Yes, because you
Getting a bed.
stayed at that holding, and
Right.
you got on the phone with places. And that's something someone may not understand. That person in initial detox and then the holding has just all the opportunities. There are case managers and
Yeah.
clinicians at those places that will get them on the phone with these approved, Bureau of Substance Abuse Services approved halfway houses and programs. BSAS, that's what those letters stand for. And then they will get on the waiting list. We talked about that in the last show.
Right.
There are going to be waiting lists. Don't give up hope. If
Right.
you have a bed somewhere, you are so lucky, and you are more well off than the person
Right.
that did not stay and are out there trying it one more time. So if I stay and I get into a halfway house, I'm going to be going to meetings. I'm going to be force-fed recovery like you. Like I had never been to so many meetings in my life. I went to my halfway house in Worcester, and I got involved. Like, here's
Again, which one?
Channing House.
Channing.
I got involved.
How many people in there?
20.
Okay.
It's a 20-bed male facility. They have a sister house, also in Worcester, called Linda Faye Griffin House. They also have 20 beds
For women?
for women. Yes.
Yeah. I'm sorry I interrupted, but
Not at all. In most cases, that's about the number of beds halfway houses are going to have.
yeah.
Somewhere around the 20 mark. Now, there are halfway houses all across the state. We talked about a few in the prior show. Pathways that you're familiar with in Gardner, Bridge House in Framingham, Channing, Grosier, Jeremiah's Inn and Dismas House in Worcester, Salvation Army for another one. They're all ran differently. They all have curriculum that differ from one another, but it's all recovery based. So when you go to a program, that's the key word. There's
Right.
programming, right? You're going to have groups there. You're going to go to meetings as a stipulation to stay at that place. You're going to be, random drug screened. You're going to be under a curfew. You're not going to be allowed to go on your own, walking around the city all day. You're going to have someone with you in the beginning. More and more responsibility is given to you, and then you get to learn how to live clean and sober, because life on life's terms gets really friggin' hard.
Yeah.
And that's where I had to do. That's what I had to do to get to this point. So if someone says, Mom, they're going to kick me out of here on Tuesday, there's nothing I can do,
Right.
that mother has the opportunity to get educated about the process. No, son, they're not. I know you have the opportunity to call and get a bed elsewhere if they
Right.
don't have one at the stabilization services at that facility. I know that you can ask for help.
Yet, I've never heard of that facility, and I've been around a long time, and I haven't, I didn't know what it was.
Yeah.
We have to somehow get that on the schedule. I don't know, but all this stuff, because like Chanel, out of detox, out the door. So who doesn't know what's going on? Where they could have said, "We'll get you down there."
Now, okay, let's be honest about the process, though. Hey, we don't have a bed for you in Worcester, but you can go to Quincy. You can get a bed in Fall River. You can get a bed in
But is this
Methuen or Haverhill or.
Stabilization. Is
That's
this,
correct. Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Right.
So there is
Which can go for how long again?
as long as it takes to get
Okay.
into the next step.
Okay.
Right. So that's what the
So
stabilization.
that's your net now. I'm interrupting, but
That's your net.
yeah, that's your net where you can go there, not back out in the street.
Oh, right. Yeah. So if I don't have a place to go called home, right? If I don't have somebody willing to just accept me back, no
Right.
matter what, hey, you had your scrap, you did some work, and now you can come home and try it again. I'm gonna do what I have to do to actually get better, and that's on me. An inside job is the title of the show, and that's exactly how I feel about it.
I lost my mic. And my words are so important.
Yeah,
They have to be.
that's because you're so
This
animated.
is Jack Kelly, and he's the man.
Thank you, Jack. So it's forcing me to make a choice. Do I want help or do I want the same old,
Right.
same old?
Right. But if stuff, I ran a house for 6 years, and if you try to really throw a lot of shit, this is my experience. If you make it too difficult for some, even though they want it, an addict. Not funny.
Even though they want it?
Yeah. I lost my point with that. Doesn't take much.
It's too hard sometimes to face.
An addict doesn't want to. It's to this day, I don't want to have anything pushed down my throat. So that's, you separate the men out of the people who really and truly, with everything, will just listen. Will just listen. And there was an old saying: take the cotton out of your
ears and out of your mouth.
Out of your mouth.
Ears and put it in your mouth. Yes.
yeah,
exactly,
right.
Yes.
That way.
Essentially, that's what someone in active addiction is doing, is putting the cotton in their ears and
Right.
just spewing forth all that stuff that
Right.
they've always said before.
Right.
Don't worry, Mom, I'm going to get it this time. I'm going to go
Yeah.
to meetings. I'm going to go
Yeah.
to counseling and whatever else she had as a itemized list
Right.
of like, hey, this is what you have to do to stay here. I'm not checking any of those boxes, given
Right.
the chance to go get high
Right,
again.
right.
And my mother and my family had to understand that too. They left me on the streets of Worcester. They said,
After how many years of enabling you? Well, you must.
in the knowledge that they were enabling me, I mean, I don't think they really ever truly believed they were. I think that they were trying to
But
help
they
me.
were.
Yes.
Okay.
Since the age of, I wrapped up that juvenile commitment at 18 and just was the crime rate of Ashburnham, Massachusetts.
Yeah.
I did so many people great harm
Right.
that like I should have been stopped. Like
Right.
go get out of town.
Right.
And I think I still am banned. I don't know if I actually am or not.
I
but
know
that's what
I'm
they told
banned
me.
in Westminster for
Yeah.
my antics. there.
Essentially, yeah. Look, okay,
not
so
funny.
you can't come back here.
Right.
And
Right.
if you do, there will be consequences.
Right.
So like
Right.
that tells the person, oh damn, they're serious.
Yeah. Yeah.
I was staying at the PIP Shelter in Worcester.
Which is rough.
Oh, I mean,
Is
I
it
had
a
this.
wet shelter? Okay, wet shelter
Yeah.
is, go ahead.
A wet shelter is a place where you don't have to be sober to come and have a bed, as long as you do not commit any crimes while at the shelter. You will have.
But you can't drink in there.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
You can come.
But you can come in loaded.
You can't have what we call work or contraband on you when you go.
Right,
But
right.
you know,
How big, how many people?
I don't even know
Not a
anymore.
good way to go.
I don't even know anymore.
Right?
It only lasted 13 days.
Yeah,
13 days, Ron, that's all it took me to get a state sentence this time and go away for, you know, a 2 to 3 year sentence.
yeah. So back to the enabling. Your parents, they didn't know they were enabling, all right? They're more the mother, I think, is saying, I am not gonna let my kid be on the street. And I've heard this over and over.
Right. I'm scared that he'll die.
That's right, that's right. You and me, I've watched my kid on the gurney 3 times, all right?
Yep.
3 times.
Yeah.
So what do? We tried everything else, but I've said that in other things, but it's so difficult to a mother and a father, watch your kid going down, and at one point you can't do anything other than cut the cord.
Cut the
So how did it happen with you after all those years? 20? No, not 20.
15.
15, okay. 15 years, there you're net. You knew that if you used, there's a bed waiting for you and some food.
Yeah, either my mother's or my father's.
Right.
You know, or in one instance, I went to stay with my aunt, you know,
Yeah.
for a week, and you know, I hurt her, you know, the same way I would have hurt my
Right.
parents in that amount of time.
Right.
It's like my ex-wife said, there's no way that you will ever live with me and the kids while you're using.
Right.
So don't even think about coming
Right.
here. You can get a bed at a shelter, or you
Right.
can try to get into a program.
Right.
So I think I mentioned that before in the first episode. Like I wrote to all the sober houses. All right. I wrote to all the sober houses I could find because I wasn't willing to get into a program at that point. No way. I just did a bid. I don't want a program. All the excuses anyone ever gives me
Right.
when I say,
Right.
hey, how about a program? They say no. I was saying the same things, and when sober houses told me that there's no way I'm accepting you like you are right now, with no 12-step recovery, with no foundation,
Right.
with no job,
Right.
with no kind of recovery whatsoever, I said, well, it's the PIP Shelter for me because I don't want to do any other kind of work. And I was on the streets because my parents said, there's no home for you here either. You are 30 years old. Grow
And
up
then
and
what?
find it out.
And then what?
And then I took the worst turn that I've ever done in my life, and I tried the needle. The 4th day out of jail at the PIP Shelter, I stuck a needle in my arm and then sold my wedding band for drugs. I sold my body. I sold anything that I had of value. And then when that was all gone, I called home. And I said, I'm hurt. I'm so hurt right now, and I don't know what to do. And they came and they saw me, and they fed me, and they said, we love you, but figure it out. And I remember my mother drove away with my kids because God knows they wanted to see me. So
Right.
they came too.
Right. Yeah.
And it was only a matter of days after that before I was incarcerated. So, given the opportunity to either get help or get high again, I did the worst possible thing that I've ever done in my life and stuck a needle in my arm. That's
Right.
how this addict will behave.
Were you doing any other opiates at that point, pills or?
Yeah, I had been dabbling in benzos. Those are your Xanax, your Klonopins,
Yeah.
your lorazepam.
Benzodiazepine.
Yep. So I've been dabbling in those to come down from the coke because that's my
Yeah.
drug of choice.
Yeah.
I would just go, smoke crack, or in this case, once I stuck a needle in my arm, shoot cocaine.
Oh,
Yep. And then I needed to come down. So benzos wasn't doing it anymore once I started shooting coke, so I started just to shoot dope instead.
yeah.
And that, like I said, that lasted what? An eternity. 10 days or
Yeah.
whatever it was, 13. From the day I stepped out of prison to the day I stepped back in, 13 days.
Yeah.
And thank God, just let me say that, thank God my parents and my ex-wife did that. Because
Did that.
yeah, oh yeah.
Yeah.
Because 2 years later, I was in a program and I was actually helping myself for once.
Yeah. The relief for your parents to know they did the right decision, because it just, I did it.
Yeah.
They did it.
Yeah.
You're doing it right now to say, I can't do it anymore.
No,
And it-
can't do it.
So you went on your run, prison again, and now you went through everything, and now you're 3 years sober. You see your kids on the weekend, and
Manage a sober
manage
house and
a
help,
sober house
and help other men try
and
to do
do
the
so
same thing.
much more going out to the and it's not like a gung-ho thing for you.
No.
It's completely from the heart.
This
And
is
it's
the-
not an ego thing for you either.
Right.
It's
This-
just
this is-
you.
this is
It's
the way
what
it
you've
works.
become at this point. That which was inside, that was clinking around. For me, it was just a spark by the time I got in, just a spark.
that's right.
You know, whatever that is. So
When we know someone, right?
Right.
I mean, my parents knew me from the day I was born, right? When
Right.
we know someone that can be so loving and so
Right.
caring and so compassionate and also so funny and so driven and so
Right.
anything so positive in their life that we've known they can be.
Right.
It's hard to look that person in the face and not be able to recognize any of it, you know?
Right.
And that's the point in which I had to tell that person that's very close to me that, like, I will be honest with you. I am not going to help you again. You need to do this for
And it's
yourself.
very recent.
It's very, I mean, legitimately, I am emotionally exhausted.
Right.
I had to tell this person that I am done doing things for you when you should have been doing them yourself. And I have expressed the fact that I want you to have the ability and the opportunities that I have and all the people on my network that I choose to call my network and friends and my family. But you don't want that.
Yeah.
And I will not beat my head against the wall for someone that doesn't want
Yeah.
it. I will love you,
Yeah.
and I will, be here for you when you come around.
Right.
I'm not going to be there for you right now.
I said it before, we're talking about enabling and that whole thing. But I did it for 35 years with my son. We tried everything.
I know.
And it's been 2 years now, and I won't see him this Christmas, I know, because he's just a different being.
Right.
So,
That's really the truth. And that I talked in the prior episode about learn to cope.
yeah,
Learn to cope is where families of people who are addicted can go and have support and know that they're not alone, because you may have felt if you didn't have the fellowship and,
Right.
and meetings and people in your
Right.
network to rely on, you may have felt like you're alone. Like, why
Exactly.
can't my son get this? Why am I not able to give him what he needs?
right.
And you're sitting at a table with 12, 15 more people that say, I understand.
Right. But in doing that for 35 years and always asking that, there's a lot of different answers that come in. In the program, we aren't shrinks, I said it before. Yes, there are some people that I trust and I don't know what else, that has that wisdom, hopefully that went through that
Right.
and get their answer. But there's still a lot of answers that come in, so I did it for 35 years because I couldn't watch him drowned. And
My cousin died at 24, and she had been using for several years, and she had tried to come around several times, and I know that my uncle and my aunt and all my family loved her very, very, very much,
Yeah.
and wanted to help her, but she she died in October of 2015, and there's not a day that goes by that I don't think that she had the same chance to get it as any of the other people I see that do make it.
Yeah.
And I called my sponsor at the funeral, and I talked to him about how I was feeling. Like, could I have done something else? Why couldn't she get it? Why couldn't she be the one
Right.
that made it? And he said that he has known so many people in this epidemic, because we call it an epidemic. There is an opioid epidemic
Yes.
that people are dying from in the streets
Yes.
right now. And he said, all those people that you've known in meetings that are no longer able to get those chairs, they died in order that I could keep what I have and continue in the process.
Just talk about that for a second. You're saying that all these people that have gone through this stuff and they died or not died are back out there, you have learned from.
Every person that has said no to treatment,
3 minutes.
every person that has that I've tried to sponsor, and
Yeah.
like it's so hard, and they say no, I don't want what you have, and they walk away. All those things are feelings that I have to feel, but also experiences that I can gain knowledge and experience from. And in the process, I know that it's never going to get any better. All the things I used to say when someone says to me, I recognize those things and I let them pass by today. I don't dwell on them, and I don't obsess, because that's the disease of addiction, the obsessive compulsive behavior, and all the drugs are just symptoms of that disease.
Yeah,
And
that's what we say in the beginning.
I learn that it'll never work, that it'll never happen. I will never be recovered. There will be no cure.
Right, that's an interesting, that you are not cured. You have to be vigilant. It's easier for me to stay sober now. It's been 35 years.
Yeah.
But I've paid attention through the years because, just as you said, I've watched the people that weren't paying attention. And some of them are dead, some of them are out in jail or anything. But we got to wrap it up, pal. Unbelievable.
It's always a pleasure, Ron.
Yeah, and you're going to see him next week, hopefully. All right, so that's another wrap. See you soon.